Hi, I'm Jessica Steele with Virginia's Department for Aging and Rehabilitative Services, and I'm here today to talk with you about Employment First and how it impacts transitioning youth. Employment First is based on the premise that all people, including people with significant disabilities, are capable of working in the community. Traditionally, people with disabilities have been thought to be placed in whether it's sheltered work or day services, and unfortunately employment's often been an afterthought, and this is especially the case for people with significant disabilities. But Employment First looks to change that. So Employment First is a systems change effort that is looking at raising expectations, implementing better practices, looking at aligning policies, procedures, and reimbursement structures so that people being supported by publicly financed systems are looking at employment before exploring alternate day options. The expectation is that for people of working age, that they're going to be looking to explore employment and be supported with that process. With Employment First, the initiative really starts with raising expectations. All too often, people with disabilities, it's assumed that they're not going to be able to work, and really regularly we're proven wrong that someone is able to do a lot more than we think. So we need to stop, as service providers, stop being yet another barrier that someone with a disability needs to overcome, and we need to be there supporting people in realizing that work is a possibility. Implementing better practices is another core component of the Employment First initiative. So it's looking at person-centered processes that are going to be able to support someone with being successful in employment. Some of the traditional services and supports that might work for different people or people with maybe not as significant challenges don't always work for individuals with more significant disabilities. And that doesn't mean that someone isn't able to work. It just means that we have to be creative and find a way to best support the people where they're at so that they can reach their goals. When I'm talking about employment or saying community-based work or competitive integrated employment, I'm talking about work that's performed out in the community in typical work settings and where individuals with disabilities work alongside coworkers without disabilities and have the opportunity to interact with coworkers without disabilities the same as anyone else doing a similar position. I'm also talking about work that is paid directly by the employer and that the individual is earning the greater of minimum wage or what's customary for the job that they're doing. Individuals should also be given benefits that are equal to what the position they are working in typically has, so just like anyone else without a disability. The work that someone with a disability is doing needs to be comprised of meaningful tasks. So the individual has to be a valued contributor to the organization, and work really has to be seen as a win-win for both the individual with the disability and the employer. Otherwise, it's not going to last. It's also important that there's opportunities as appropriate for advancement in the job. So an individual with a disability should have the same opportunities that someone without a disability may have to be able to have job mobility. Typically, we are hoping for full-time employment, but in some situations, part-time employment might be most appropriate, and that's okay too. With Employment First, non-traditional employment options are okay and they're actually encouraged. So things like self-employment enterprises or customized employment opportunities, which might include created positions. So that's where a business's unmet need is met by an individual's unique skill set and strengths. And so we don't just have to look at typical traditional jobs, but really figuring out what's the individual's strengths and then how can we find a way for them to most benefit an employer. There are a wide variety of benefits to Employment First. And this, I have some examples, but this list is not exhaustive. To the individual, Employment First increases independence, both financial independence as the person's earning money, but also personal independence, going out and working on the job. Employment positively contributes to someone's self-identity and their self-esteem, and it provides opportunities for personal growth and also to develop relationships that one wouldn't have the opportunity to if they're not working. So whether it's with peers and coworkers on the job or supervisors, and getting to be able to understand the difference in relationships with a coworker versus a supervisor. So there are also a lot of benefits to the employer by employing people with disabilities. People with disabilities is a largely untapped resource for businesses, so by employing individuals, it increases their diversity and inclusion. And studies have shown that businesses that place a higher emphasis on diversity and inclusion actually are considered higher performing organizations than those that don't. And actually employing people with disabilities, including people with significant disabilities, can be very good for businesses' bottom line. A lot of times individuals with disabilities come to the place of work with a lot of motivation, and then that in turn reflects in their productivity. And in addition, sometimes as businesses are adjusting the ways that they teach people how to do the tasks on the job, and they're making accommodations, they discover better ways to train new employees and better ways to streamline their processes, which in turn impacts the business in a positive manner. In terms of the community, having people with disabilities working and earning wages has a positive impact on the economy because people are able to then go out and spend the money that they earned. And it also reduces reliance on public assistance. In addition, having more people with disabilities, and especially people with significant disabilities working in the community, is a way to create a more inclusive society. And as businesses are making accommodations and adaptations at their workplaces so that individuals with disabilities can access the locations, this helps everyone out in the community who's trying to access a certain business. With Virginia DARS, we're a state agency that helps people with disabilities to prepare for, obtain, and maintain employment. And we work collaboratively with a lot of community partners in order to do this. DARS is really focused on the Employment First initiative, and that's part of why the position I'm in, the IDD Employment Resource Specialist position, exists. So as part of the IDD Employment Resource Specialist role, we look to figure out ways to better collaborate with schools, employment service organizations, other community agencies, like the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services, to figure out how we best can support people with disabilities with achieving competitive integrated employment. We see that with this population, enhanced collaboration is really crucial to success, and so we want to be part of the solution, figuring out how to better support people. We're also looking at providing, training and technical assistance to counselors and VR staff that are supporting individuals with disabilities so that they can understand the best practices and be able to implement those with the students and young adults that we're working with. It's very important to be creative in how we're approaching someone's situation and areas that they might need assistance with. So looking at things like assistive technology, looking at ways to support soft skills development, because that's crucial to someone being able to obtain and maintain a job. Looking at how we can really conduct comprehensive assessments up front so that we have robust plans for employment, and really the whole time being person-centered in our thinking. So to see the changes that we want and to have more people out working competitively in the community, we really need to look at advancing the employment initiative at a very young age. So this is starting in the home and in the schools. People need to be educated early about what employment means so that they can make informed decisions about their future. So in Virginia, we're looking at supporting, people who want to work and saying that this is a possibility, but it's very common to hear, oh, so-and-so isn't interested in employment. They want to participate in day services. And when you probe a little deeper, you find out that it's not that they're not interested, it's that they don't really understand what working means and the opportunities available through employment, and how that really can be a positive influence in someone's life. So part of Employment First is educating people from a young age about employment and helping them to be able to make good, solid decisions about their future. For a lot of people, and especially people with significant disabilities, learning through experiences is a lot more effective way to learn and understand. So that's why starting, with families and educators, looking at ways to foster experiential activities that will help someone to be able to make informed decisions about their future is really crucial. And so there's a lot of different ways that this can be done. For example, families and school staff can support someone taking formal or informal tours of local businesses and helping someone to ask questions about employees' roles and expectations and what are the qualifications for the job. They can also help facilitate job shadowing at a family member or friend's place of business. Schools can help by coordinating internship opportunities. And then also schools and families can help people to get engaged in volunteering in the community. So these are all a lot of different ways that people can start to get a better understanding of different jobs out there, what it's like to work, and what the expectations are of employers. Linking with DARS early is also a really important component of helping someone be able to achieve competitive integrated employment. Especially for people with significant disabilities, we want to see that linkage earlier so that there's enough time for the family, the individual, the school team, and then DARS, the adult services provider, to all work together to come up with a strong transition plan. If you wait until the last year, that's not really enough time to be helping someone identify their interests and their strengths and their goals and to be setting someone up for success. So raising expectations, as I mentioned before, is a core component of employment first. We have to give people the opportunity to try and to succeed. And so it can't be repeated enough that we have to raise our expectations for the individuals that we're working with. And so increasing responsibilities of individuals with disabilities goes hand in hand with raising expectations. Believing someone can do more and then giving them the chance to show that is really important to help someone prepare for employment. And there's tons of ways that people can increase responsibilities and independence at school and at home. Some simple things that I always encourage families to do are helping the individual to start to get up on his or her own for the school day, and also doing chores around the house. And sometimes I think families get overwhelmed with changing maybe whatever system or process they have in place, but you can start small. They don't have to be doing everything all in one day, but taking little steps towards increasing independence and helping someone learn how to initiate and follow through with a task, because that's really important to success on the job. It's also good to use, whether it's pictures or technology like an iPhone or an iPod Touch, to help someone be learning how to follow through with the task with as minimal prompts from adults or teachers. So we want people to be starting to do things on their own because teachers and parents aren't going to be on the job with them. So transition assessments need to be done early in order to identify individual strengths, their interests, and their preferences and needs. And there should be multiple different assessments done in different environments so we can be really getting a comprehensive picture of what the individual is interested in and what might be marketable skills that can turn into them being successful with employment. It's so important to focus on the strengths and the interests because we want to lean into what the person already enjoys and likes doing. And so, it's not uncommon to hear like, okay, my son or daughter is really great at playing video games. And initially that seems like there's not much you can do with that. But if we start to think more creatively and really start to explore what types of jobs are out there, some newer things like a 3D printing technician, that could be a good match. So it's important that when we're identifying skills and strengths and preferences, we're not just thinking about how those line up with traditional entry-level jobs, but really being creative and thinking outside the box. So it's important to have targeted post-secondary education goals in order to help people be prepared for adulthood in the world of work. We want the goals to be SMART and measurable, for them to be attainable, realistic, and also for them to be timely. And when we're helping people to develop goals, we want to make sure that the students are active participants in this process and they're taking ownership of their goals. We're teaching individuals really valuable life lessons when we help them develop goals. We're regularly checking in on how the progress is going towards reaching the goal and helping them to change goals as needed when maybe things aren't going the way we expected, or helping them to put different measures in place in order for them still to be able to reach that goal. It's important that IEP goals are addressing student-specific needs so that it's not a week before exiting and we realize, oh shoot, someone's not going to be able to get a job because there's a challenge in place. Maybe they're very concerned about losing SSI benefits. So we want to make sure that our goals are targeting all areas that could be barriers to employment and helping individuals to develop the skills and experiences they need so that they can be successful. And one way to really help students be successful is to foster self-determination. So self-determination is a way of thinking where one feels like they have ownership over their future and they're able to make changes and they see dreams for themselves and feel like it's within their power to achieve that. And self-determination is a really valuable skill that we want to teach all students, all youth, but especially individuals with disabilities who sometimes can feel very unempowered. Another thing that we want to be helping students with is decreasing prompt dependence. So as adult service providers, it's really common for people with disabilities, and especially individuals with significant disabilities, to rely a lot on adults in order to start or complete a task. And I mentioned that a little bit earlier. So when we're supporting individuals in the school system or at home, we want to make sure that we're using as minimal amounts of verbal prompting as possible and looking at other ways, whether it's through pictures or technology, but other ways to reinforce that they are completing a task correctly. And when more intervention is needed, that's okay. Sometimes people need hand over hand in order to learn a skill, but it's really important that as someone is mastering each level of the skill, that then the intervention that's provided is decreased. So with hand over hand, as soon as someone's mastering that, you would start to not have as strong a grip, or then move down to maybe just directing their wrist, or then maybe just their elbow. So really making sure that fading takes place so that we're not setting people up for challenges on the job when they don't have someone with them all the time to be providing that prompting. In thinking about employment first, it's imperative that we really start early with our youth and helping them to understand what working means and helping them to explore their interests and their strengths and their preferences and explore opportunities out there in the world of work. We definitely want to presume ability, helping people realize that they do have it within themselves with the appropriate supports to be successful. Again, we don't want to be yet another barrier that an individual with a disability has to overcome. Emphasizing strengths is a huge component to helping people be successful. A lot of times we've seen people not be successful on the job, and it's not because they're not capable of working, it's because the position that they were assisted with getting wasn't a good job match, and it didn't really coincide with someone's strengths, their interests, or their preferences. And people need to understand that you're not going to love every aspect of your job, but we're going to see better performance when individuals are matched with jobs that really help them to lean into their strengths and to take advantage of the assets and skill sets that they do have. Another important component of Employment First is utilizing the whole team. So an Employment First team can be comprised of a lot of people, and there might be some members that are more active than others, but it's really imperative that the individual is an active participant, And also that we're taking advantage of any personal networks that family and friends of the individual have. They're a huge part of a person being successful. We, of course, have the school system involved, so special education teachers, general education teachers, transition representatives, everyone who knows the individual and can help with guiding that person to finding a career path that meets their interests and skills. The adult service providers like DARs and job coaches from employment service organizations are incredibly crucial to helping someone be able to transition their experiences and skills in the secondary education setting to whether it's post-secondary ed, training, and then eventually the world of work. And once someone's working, the employer and natural supports on the job, they become part of the team too. We want to make sure that we're listening to their needs and identifying ways to best support the individual and the business. So again, the relationship is a win-win. And there's other agencies and professionals out there that can be helpful. Like I mentioned before, people who might be concerned about what working will do to supplemental security income benefits. So then we would want to pull in a work incentive specialist advocate to help educate the individual and family about how working impacts benefits and let them know about work incentives. So it's just really important that we're looking at everyone out there in the community that can help be a positive impact and bringing them into the team. So thank you for letting me take the time to speak with you today and talk about Employment First and how we can best support youth with becoming integrated in our community and out working successfully.
The VCU Center on Transition Innovations is funded by the Virginia Department of Education. Number 881-62524-H027A15107. For further information about the Center on Transition Innovations, please visit our website at www.centerontransition.org.